All right. I'm back again. Uh, as I said, with a different live, wearing a different hat. This time I will be speaking to you um, as the founder of A Mother's Cry and the voice uh, in the face of A Mother's Cry, right? So if you are a mother of a incarcerated person, if you are a family member of an incarcerated person, and you just just interested in the work that we do, I want you to join in. I want you to like and share this. I'm sorry, I'm trying to change this. Like and share this video. I want you to comment and respond. Let me know your thoughts and your feelings about what I'm getting ready to say. All right. So this is Jamie Green from A Mother's Cry. And let's go. All right. So the topic of today's live is, why are they still there? Why are they still there? And this is a cry for justice from a mother in Maryland. Even though I know that there are mothers all over the world asking the same question, experiencing the same thing I'm experiencing. Why are they still there? All right. Welcome to Let's Talk Destiny and A Mother's Cry podcast, where truth, faith, and justice meet in a raw and necessary conversation. I am your host, Jamesina Green, founder of A Mother's Cry, a nonprofit that was birthed from pain and rooted in purpose. As I said, it would mean much to me if you would like and share the video. Excuse me. You know my congestion situation. Today, I'm not speaking as a podcast host necessarily. I am speaking as a mother of an incarcerated son whose name is Byron Green, who has been in a Maryland state prison for 19 years. Let me repeat that, 19 years, with only one infraction or violation in the past 15 years. I call that proven rehabilitation, growth, accountability, and change. Yet still, the state of Maryland says he is not eligible for parole or a commuted sentence. Governor Westmore, I am speaking directly to you. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, I have sent letters and emails. I'm sorry, I was trying to get this done before I had any interruptions. But so, yes, Governor Westmore, I'm speaking directly to you. Attorney General Anthony Brown, Secretary Carolyn Scruggs, members of the Maryland Parole Commission, and all of those charged with the moral, legal, and human responsibility of overseeing our state prison system. Why are some of our sons and daughters still there? You say this prison system is overcrowded. You say the staff are burned out and resigning. You say reforms are necessary. Then why is my son and so many like him still behind bars? I was speaking to my son and a couple other young men that I have mothered from my heart, and the excessive amount of lockdown time that they're having to spend in these cages because the state says they don't have enough staff. And then they wonder why the hostility is rising, the level of anxiety, the use of drugs, the overdose from drugs. All of these things are rising. You keep human beings locked in cages for days and days and days because you don't have enough staff. And you wonder why they retaliate the way they do. Maryland's mandatory sentencing laws are not justice. They are a human rights violation. I am putting this out here live with my voice. As I said, I have written letters and sent emails. I am not joking or playing around when it comes to the lives of these young people, many of whom, including my son, have proven rehabilitation. You cannot survive in an environment like that for 19 years with only one infraction and not be changed and rehabilitated. The only reason they keep these young people, old people, whatever age, behind these prison walls is because the prison industrial complex is a multi-billion-dollar business. It's about business. It's not about rehabilitation. And the Maryland's mandatory sentencing laws are atrocious. They have removed the capacity for context, for second chances, for redemption. They are a cage, not just of iron and concrete, but of political cowardice and policy inertia. Let me tell you about Byron. He's not a number. He's not a statistic. He is a father. He is a son. He is a man who is transformed in spite of a system designed to break him. You take a 25-year-old young man and you give them a 50-year sentence, not for murder, not for rape, not for pedophilia, but for assault. You give them a 50-year sentence at age 25. And what you are saying in essence is your life means nothing. You're not valuable to us. We don't want anything else to do with you. That is what the state of Maryland did to Byron Green. He mentors younger inmates. He avoids conflict. He honors God and his family. And yes, he is ready to come home. There are young men who have been released that were incarcerated with Byron, that he has given permission to call me. And they call me. One young man calls me pretty much every morning to check in with me, to let me know how he's doing. He's at work, how he's feeling, so forth and so on, to see how I'm doing. And they tell me stories of how Byron mentored them through the process of their incarceration. And had it not been for him and his wisdom and his ability to show them how to stay out of trouble in that hostile environment, they probably would not be walking the street today. This is the type of person that we need home in our communities to help save some of our young men, instead of every time they do something that society doesn't like, putting them in shackles and chains and throwing them in a cage. So I ask again, why is he still there? Aside from the atrocious Maryland mandatory sentencing laws, which are human rights violations, why is he still there? You tell the public that you support second chances. You speak on reentry, equity, and rehabilitation. But I've watched those words float into microphones like smoke, while real families suffer and real lives remain trapped behind bars for decades. I remember some years ago, I was interning at a local detention center. And I was attending Salisbury State, attempting to get my social work degree, and I was interning at the detention center. And I asked the warden, I said, do you see these facilities, these quote correctional unquote facilities, as places for punishment, for just punishment, or for rehabilitation? He said, oh, absolutely punishment. I could care less about anybody being rehabilitated. He looked me in my face and said those words. And my response was, well, that's why you have such a high recidivism rate. And his response was, ma'am, I call that job security. And he walked away. And for years, I've thought about how many other people working in the so-called criminal justice system have that same mentality. It's about bodies behind those walls. It's not about rehabilitation as much as it is about making money. We go all the way back to the times of slavery, and once slavery was supposedly abolished, the states had to come up with another way to make money, since they could, no longer just have hundreds and hundreds of people on their properties as slaves. So what did they come up with? This so-called judicial system, this criminal system, where they have legal slaves. Yeah. Governor Moore, you said this, and I quote, I believe in the power of redemption and the need to break down systems of incarceration that do not rehabilitate. That's what our governor said. So then I respond, well, then let's start with Byron. Start with the countless others who have already paid a price, served their time, and proven that they have changed. Because if you are in an environment where you're watching people, you walk down the tier and you walk past the cage and you see a person stabbed to death, lying in blood in a cage. You see a person day and night, you hear noises of people being raped and abused and murdered. You look out your cage and you see individuals bent over, overdosed on drugs. I've been told stories from mothers that I work with through A Mother's Cry of incidents where their sons who are imprisoned would, one gentleman had a young man in his cell with him that OD'd and was dead for hours before anybody came and removed the body from the cell. So this young man was in there with this dead body for several hours because they're not seen as human beings. Human rights violations occur on a daily basis. And someone said to me, well, you don't understand because you don't work there. No, I don't, and I don't have any desire to work there. But what I do know is that these are still human beings. So let's start with those who have already paid the price and proven that they have changed. Because if we do not act now, then your words, Governor Moore, your offices, Attorney Brown, and your promises, Public Defender Natasha Darty, are just empty words. I urge every listener to join A Mother's Cry. This is not just about my son. It's about a system that refuses to see humanity in those that it cages. It's about a mother's cry for mercy, for justice, and for truth. A few months ago, I was included in a Zoom meeting with some staff members from the Department of Corrections. And I just sat and I listened to people talk about numbers, about cases, about programs that the majority of the prisons don't even do anymore. They're so busy taking away things. Um, even the educational programs. And for those such as my son who have been told that because of the number of years that they were given, they're not even qualified or eligible to participate in some of these programs. Yet, because of the strength that he has within himself, he took it upon himself to find ways to get involved in programs and has received over 19 certifications on his own. So now the prison system, for some reason or the other, has ended several of those programs where he was getting certificates, and those who have already completed the classes are not even able to get their certificates. Yes, I've reached out to the company that was providing this service, and they said that the Department of Corrections had temporarily terminated the service, but they didn't really know why. We are no longer whispering behind closed doors. Of course, I've never been doing a whole bunch of whispering behind closed doors. I've always been pretty verbal about my feelings about this whole situation. We are speaking into microphones, and we are demanding change. Yes, I am totally aware that Governor Moore just signed the second look, which will be effective, I believe, in October. But I'm still screaming that there's so much more that can be done. There's so much more that can be done. If a person lives in that environment, mentally ill people not receiving the medical help that they really need, just being put on pills and try to make them sleep through their sentence, right? The parole system is a joke. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in our so-called criminal justice system. We appreciate whatever you have done, but it is nowhere near enough. So we are demanding change, and we're demanding it out loud. And we're calling the names of those who say they have the power, they say they have the authority to do something about it. Then let's do something about it. I was asked by a couple of mothers to call and check the status of their child's parole, when they were eligible for parole. And I called the Maryland Parole Commission in January of this year and checked, to check for some other mothers. And then I said, well, I need to check on my own child while I'm calling over here. So I called, and the young lady was like, oh yeah, let me get back to you. She calls me back and she says, yes, your son is eligible for parole. So my question was, so if I had not called you, would he have been notified that he was eligible for parole? Her response was, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Interesting. Anyway, I made such a fuss, emailing everybody that I could think of at the parole commission and so forth and so on. So they said to me, well, go ahead and put him on the schedule for next week. All right, he gets a date for the parole hearing. The parole officer that interviewed him was unprepared, totally unprepared, because she said she didn't even know he was put on a schedule. She didn't have any information. Then when she gets the information, she spends the entire time reviewing the case and discussing the sentence, which it is my understanding, and it was my son's understanding as well, that in these parole hearings, you're supposed to be talking about the institutional record. What has this person done since they've been locked up to prove that they're qualified to go back out in the street, that they're no longer a danger to society? None of that was discussed. So, of course, I do my follow-up, contact my people at the Department of Corrections. And the response is, well, technically, he's not really even eligible for parole because of the Maryland mandatory sentencing law. He has to do 50% of his sentence. Okay, first question. So why did you even schedule a parole hearing if you knew that was the case? That's the first question. Second question, the parole commission has discretionary power. If you can look at a person's institutional record and see that they have not had any violations in 15 years, that they have started and continued a mentoring program, you have the authority and you have the ability to say this person is a candidate for parole because they're doing exactly what we've asked those who want parole to do. With 2 jobs lined up, a place to live, everything that you said that he should have outside of the stupid mandatory minimum sentence law. So let's get it together, right? And I will not be silenced, period. If you know me at all, you know that's not what I do. Being quiet is not what I do, right? I have a voice, I am a voice, and I will speak out. So until next time, I'm James Cena Green, and this is Let's Talk Destiny and A Mother's Cry. Let justice roll down like waters. If you have any questions for me, you have anything that you want to discuss with me, feel free to contact me as we let justice roll, let mercy leave, and let our loved ones come home. I want to conclude this by saying that on May 1st at 6 p.m., we will be having a private, intimate Zoom gathering for mothers of incarcerated children. If you are interested in joining us in this Zoom conversation, let me know. Send me your email address and I will email you the Zoom link because it is a private conversation. We're not putting this information out publicly. It is just for mothers of incarcerated children, whether they're youth or adults, so that we can have a place where we can talk and just be real about what we are experiencing as family members who have loved ones behind that wall. Again, thank you for those who listen in and those who will watch it in replay. Keep me in prayer because, anytime you fight the system, you go against the system, you call out the system, you put yourself at risk for things. But it's all good. I am a warrior till the last breath. Thank you so much. Have a great day.